Struggling here.
What's next? We're just moving on. Right?
Yeah, I do get that.
So the basic tools you're going to need to do this are going to be some simple pry bars, a really short stubby 8mm wrench, and then we're going to need an 8mm socket and a 10mm socket, along with your just basic ratchet, a light to see, and maybe some gloves to help protect your hands. Some of the things we like to use that are a luxury is we're going to use an electric wrench here, and then we also have this nice big floodlight that really provides us some good light. The first step for this, to get this bumper off, is we're going to have to remove these lights on each side. So to get to it is first we're going to take off this guy. It's just got a little compression clamp on there. So we'll kind of pry this up. Next you're going to have to remove these sills. Once you've removed your weather sill, you can move on to this little plastic trim piece back here for your trunk. There's going to be 4 clips, 2 here and 2 here. And you're just going to pry and pop them up. So to pop these, we like to give a nice firm and gentle tug right there at about where you feel the pressure of it starting to pull. Once you get that undone, we've got 2 of these little clips right here, and we're going to use one of those pry bars. Once you've got those removed, we're going to start kind of prying this back. You don't really need to take this weather sill out, but you do need to get it removed out from under it. Once you get up to this spot, we're going to have a few clips to undo. Pop. And that should start to give you access. You want to remove this next one up here and just kind of get that open and get it loose just so we can get our hands back in here. To remove these lights, we're going to have 2 bolts back here. And these are going to be your 8mm bolts. There's going to be 1 here on the bottom and 1 up above.
So one of the things to keep in mind for this is the left and right part is actually going to be slightly different. So this side, it has obviously the charging port over here, and then on that side it doesn't, but it does have this obstruction here. So this right side is going to be slightly harder. But when you're here, they also have the 12 volt, I guess, cigarette lighter right in here. So just be very, very careful when you're dealing with it. As far as the connections, it's going to be exactly the same. So just keep that in mind. But it is easier to do the left side first than this side. So we're going to go ahead and we'll try to get you some close-ups. We're shooting this ourselves, so bear with us. But Brad's going to be kind of disassembling this while I try to get some better angles.
So if you guys can look in here, we're going to look back in there. And you're going to see this little electrical clip back here. That little red tab needs to push back and really make sure you jiggle it around to make sure you get it nice and loose. Once you've gotten it loose, you should be able to kind of wiggle this guy free. And then we're going to move on to these 2 bolts right here. So we actually ended up having to cut our little wrench in half to get this guy to fit. But to get in back here, you've got this guy here. You're not going to want to undo this completely with your wrench, and you're probably not going to want to do it with your gloves on either. If you drop these little bolts, you're going to have a really hard time getting them back. So once you've taken out both of your 2 8mm bolts and you've disconnected your electrical wire, you're going to want to take this light and kind of pull it and get it out to you. Make sure you're not torquing this way, because this little guy will break and these things are not cheap. So now we're going to move on to these little push clips down underneath. We've got 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, and 4 here in the back. All we're going to do is use our little pry tool again, get underneath there, kind of work both sides if you have to, and they'll pop right out. Now that we're moving under the car, sorry about the camera, G's shooting from underneath, but we're going to try and show you these bolts that we've got to take off. So we've got 1, then we've got 2, 3, 4, and then we've got 5 again over there, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we'll get started. And just so you know, these 2 are just to hold this undercarriage to the bumper itself. So those 2 do not need to come out. So just to make installation easier for yourself, we're actually going to loosen up this undercarriage part here. So we've already done these 2 to release the bumper and undercarriage itself, but when you go to reinstall, this guy can be really tricky to get this flat to scoot back over, and we'll show you a better view when we go to reinstall. But to loosen this up and to make it easier yourself is you're going to have a bolt here and a bolt here in these 2 recessed areas, and this is going to give you enough play to get this thing back in there easily.
Step is, unlike the Model 3, these are going to have these black trims over here, so this needs to come out because there's actually an 8mm bolt right under here. So I think the easiest way is try to find a weak point, try to get under. There's a bunch of clips all around here. Just kind of pull. There you go. And typically all of them do come out, but if it doesn't, you have to make sure that you remove that clip and put it back, because it's a slide on. So I'm going to show you right after I take everything off. You don't have to take it out all the way if you take out the rear bumper. So just so you know, don't take out every single part. So I'm going to keep going down. There we go. Alright, once you get under here, it should pop out. When you do put it back, make sure that if you see this over here, this really needs to go under before it lines up. So again, just to show you guys, this clips over here, you can see that they don't just push in from this side. It has to be like slided in all the way. So again, if it's stuck, make sure you take it out. Once you have that, you're going to use this, and again, this is going to be an 8mm, and there's a bolt right here. It's on the 1, 2, and the 3rd hole over here. Loosen that, and then you should be good to go. Make sure you put this somewhere safe. So once both of those trims are out on both sides, there's going to be 1 10mm right here, and you're just going to loosen that up. Over here, and get the other side.
So now we're going to actually start removing these tabs along the bumper. I like to start here in the corners and do the corners on both sides, and then we'll do the tops on both sides, and then we'll work around to this center part. So again, kind of like that front trim piece, you're going to kind of get your fingers in here, and it's going to be a nice, good little pop. So we'll move to the other side. So some of the things you can do to make this a little bit easier for yourself is give yourself a little upwards pull, and it really kind of helps break those loose. Once you've gotten these 3 loose at the top, keep that pried back, and we're going to grab it here, and we're going to grab it here, and we're going to again do that nice little pull and get that guy out. So again, that lift and pull it out. Now that we've gotten these unlatched all the way around, we're going to work on these middle, and be careful, this is when the bumper is going to actually start to want to come off. we like to kind of put our knee under here to help support. You don't want to pull this away immediately. We've got one electrical clip right around in here that we're going to have to undo. These don't take a whole lot of force, but just be prepared about the bumper. And then everything breaks free. So again, here's our little electrical clip. We've got another one of these little locking tabs. We're going to pull that back. And it pops right out. Our bumper should be free. And now we're going to put this into a safe place.
Awesome. Let's put it down over here. So one thing that we honestly forgot to shoot, it's kind of hard shooting and trying to do this at the same time, is you actually do want to tape all around those edges, because as you saw, when you're actually pulling all these areas, you could possibly damage other parts like of the rear quarter panel. So just get some blue tape or green tape and just put it across that line. It's just a good practice to keep your car safe whenever you're doing anything like this. So that's pretty much it, guys. We're gonna put this back together, and as we're putting it back together, we might go a little bit faster. But as we go, we'll kind of tell you some of the tips that we've learned in putting this bumper back on. There are a couple caveats I guess you need to know to put this back on safely. So we're gonna go ahead. It might be some fast parts, but let's put this back on.
So when you go to reinstall, we like to start with this bottom piece here. And if you notice, there's actually going to be a little triangle here that's going to give you your center point. And there's also going to be a little center point here in your bumper. That's just going to let you know where you're going.
We'll go ahead and do that, and then do not forget to connect this. We have done it where we put it back and we forgot to do the sensors, so do not forget this.
Limited space, you can kind of rest it up here on these little ledges right here to give yourself a hand.
That one's not ledged up. And then for the Model Y, we found out that there's like a little sliding thing, so you could actually take it out of the sensors, and then after that you could put it back. So cool. So I'm gonna help Brad put this down, and then help Brad put this back on. It's really hard to do it one person. So if you do have a friend or a teammate, it's just going to be a lot easier to hold each side. All right, so just kind of rest it here on the top, and then we'll do the middle. Boom. There it is. Alright, you notice that it did make an aggressive sound, but it should be fine. This is now in place, and then you can see that all of these fit a lot easier once you actually have that middle part aligned. Is that actually aligned? So you can see that that triangle is actually supposed to be that center. So we're going to realign that again to make sure that we have it right. If you don't do that right, most likely it won't fit as well. So we're going to take it out again. Now realign it. So, that's it. Yeah. And then you can see that everything just falls into place. We typically try to like doing the sides first. Put this in place, and then everything kind of falls into place as well. So just kind of pull it a little bit, push it, and then align this. And then that should just fall into place. And then these clips just work just fine. So, super simple. We didn't even have to hit it or anything like that, so that is nice. Sweet, we got the hard part done. What we like to do right away is put this 10 mil up here, just to make sure it's not falling or anything like that.
Oh, it's down here still.
Oh, for the sides?
Yeah.
Right there. Oh, okay. And then don't forget this one. Remember we took out that bolt on the side over here.
So the hole we're looking for is going to be 1, 2, 3, and this is the guy we're going for.
When you're doing this part, this is what I was talking about. This here, sorry. This is going to be a problem if you start pushing it down all the way in the middle. you want to make sure, so you went too far back actually. You have to tuck this thing inside like that, line this up, and then line everything else, push that in, and then you should be able to push everything else in. So that's a really big thing. We're going to go all of it, and then you get to the end, it's really hard to bend that plastic.
Once you get those clips, they'll kind of slide back in and give you access to drill that back in.
Okay, from here on out, it's pretty, I don't think there's anything else that we really need to explain. You just need to put these 4 clips back in exactly where you took them off, and then pretty much that's it. So we're going to do the last part. Oh, and then we got to put this trim part back into place, I suppose. Back in place. What up? So that worked.
Rear bumper video. Thanks for joining along with us today, guys. Hope you had a little bit of fun and maybe learned something. Maybe. So if you have any questions or comments, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you.
And make sure to follow us. Make sure to follow us on social media at Tesla Bros. We're coming out with new videos. We're trying to come up with a lot of educational series like this every Monday, and other fun stuff too. Monday at 6 p.m. we're going to be posting every single week for 2021. So that's our goal. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you later.